Hello, welcome back to the channel. In front of me today, I have every movie a part of the $1 billion movie club and a tier list to rank them all. So with that, let's get started. But first, if you like content, film, TV content, you should definitely consider subscribing. I try to post 2 times a week, and I really think this is just a great place for film and movie lovers. But anyway, start with the first film, Jurassic World. I think Jurassic film is definitely an average film. Definitely try to capitalize on Jurassic Park, so I'm just gonna throw out an average. Nothing that for me that really puts it in the good or great tier. They definitely just get worse and worse and worse. Jurassic Park, that is a god tier film for me. It's an iconic classic film, a really phenomenal Spielberg film, and just a great movie. Barbie, it's a good film, I think. It definitely falls apart when they go into the human world, but if you kind of even without the story stuff, I think it is beautiful production design, really good acting, and just pretty good story. It's okay. Frozen 2, I don't really remember this one. I also feel like this one definitely tried to capitalize on the first one. This one I just don't remember that much. I'm just gonna throw it an average. There's nothing that terrible about this one. Good voice acting, good animation, but nothing for me really putting it in the good tier. Fast 7, I'm gonna throw this in bad. These movies aren't the worst thing ever. Like they're not something I actively try to avoid. Fast X or 10 or whatever which one. It was a fun watch. It was stupid, but it's fun. Skyfall, James Bond. It's great. I love these movies. They're awesome. Great score, great action. Daniel Craig is awesome as Bond. These movies are fun as hell. I love James Bond, and the movies are great. Episode 1, Phantom Menace. I think it's a bad movie. I've grown on it as just times pass and I watch more things because I used to think this was like the worst movie ever, but I think it's a bad movie. Not terrible. Second one's definitely worse, but I'm just gonna throw it in bad. Transformers, whatever. I think it's Dark of the Moon, or no, this is Night something. This movie's awful. It's considered terrible. It's bad. Transformers: The Last Night. This is going worse. I don't know. I think this only made $1 billion because it came out during the last writer's strike, but it's just not a good film. It's the goofy at parts. It's sometimes so bad it's good, but most of the time it's just not a good watch. Transformers: Dark of the Moon. This one's pretty bad too. Transformers movies just get worse and worse and worse. First one's fine, but this one's just a bad one. I don't think it's worse than Night of the whatever, but I'm just gonna throw it in bad. The Aladdin reboot. I think this again just did good because it capitalized on the original Aladdin love. People probably also wanted to see Will Smith's take on the genie instead of Robin Williams, but I think this one is just another bland Disney remake. I'm throwing it in bad. Aquaman. This movie's fun. It's colorful. It's vibrant. I like James Wan's direction. I don't think it has anything that good about it, so I'm throwing it in average. Avengers: Age of Ultron. Another pretty average superhero movie. Definitely one of the weaker MCU films. For that, it's going in average. Avengers: Endgame. A really fun way to end out the just MCU 3 phases. So many fan service moments. Just this is one of the best theater experiences I've had. Rewatching this one's always fun. It's just there's so many things for fans, and I really think this is just a good movie if you dedicated your time to watching the 30 movies before it. So I think for that I'm putting it in good. There's definitely story wise, I don't think there's anything that's like super amazing about it. So for that, it's good. No. Avengers Endgame, I think that's a great movie. I love like what they did with Thanos. I like the Russo brothers' direction. I think this one just looks the best out of all of them. So I think it's a great movie. Beauty and the Beast, a movie that's just another just remake. I don't know why these remakes make so much money. Maybe because people are interested in seeing like a new take on their beloved characters. But I think you just watch the original and they're the same story for me. There's nothing that new about it. So I think for that, I'm just gonna throw it in bad. Black Panther. I really think this is a great Marvel movie. Really good villain with Killmonger. Really good action. Really cool world with Wakanda. So with all that, I'm putting that in great tier. Captain America: Civil War. Really cool fight scenes, especially just the airport scene. It's like seeing a bunch of action figures just go together. Seeing the Avengers fight, that's always cool to watch. This one has a lot of rewatchability just in terms of all the Marvel movies. So I think it has a good spot in the good tier. Captain Marvel. This one I think is not that good of a Marvel movie. Pretty boring. I like Ben Mendelsohn as the villain as Talos. He's pretty good. I like Nick Fury in it. He's good as well, but besides that, I just don't think there's that much there for me. I don't think this is that terrible of a movie, but it's just very just structured, basic. So I think average is pretty good for it. Despicable Me. I think Despicable Me movies are fine. Comedy sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I, the relationship between like Gru and his daughters, that's definitely what works the most for me. But I think what like the company Illumination did, they just capitalized on this way too much. They made like 5 movies after this, just Minions and all that. So I don't know. I think average is a pretty good spot for it. The original Avengers. This is the first team up movie. Just the first one of the first movies I saw in theaters. I have a love for this movie. Seeing just Hulk punch that thing in New York. So many great scenes in that. So I think for me personally, this would go in like good tier. The Dark Knight. It's going to God tier. One of the best superhero movies, like top 3 for me. Phenomenal Batman movie. Phenomenal superhero movie. The Dark Knight Rises. I think this movie definitely has some problems. It gets very messy at some parts, but there are a lot of good things about it. Bane, Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. I mean, it's a Nolan film. It's not awful at all. There's a lot of pros, and I think the pros are better than the cons. So I think good is just a pretty good spot for it. The Lion King remake. Now this is one that I do think is going to go higher than average. It looks very beautiful. It's a story we've seen before in the original Lion King, but it's such a beautiful just things, CGI score, all that. So I think good's a pretty good spot. I think average, but I think higher end of the average. I think it's like number 1 average right now. Avatar from 2009. I think this is a good movie. I don't think story-wise it's amazing. I don't think it's amazing because it's nothing new. It's a pretty just basic story, but visual-wise, world-wise, all that, it's good. So for that, I think good tier is a pretty good spot for it. You know what? I think great. I think just because of all of that, the world it's created, I think great's a pretty good spot for it. Alice in Wonderland. This movie is not good. It takes the original classic story, tries to do something new, which I appreciate. I think a lot of people did. But Johnny Depp just gives such an unlikable performance as the Mad Hatter. I don't think it belongs in the worst tier, but I think the bad tier is a pretty good spot for it. Harry Potter. I'm just going to pick this one out. Why not? I think Harry Potter, I'm teetering on putting in good and great. I think, you know what? Throw it in great. It's a really, really fun start to this movie franchise. Puts you in this world. Does a really good adaptation from the book. And I think for that, it can go in great tier. I mean, I put Avatar in great. It can go in great. Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. I think this is Finding Dory, I'm guessing. I think it's a good Pixar movie. It's definitely lower on my ranking out of all of them. Beautiful animation, as always. Good story. I don't think it has anything super new, like super just insane. This definitely feels like a lower Pixar movie, so I think this is just a good movie. Frozen. I think this is just a good movie. Yeah, I'm gonna go with good. I mean, made $1 billion. I think it has good animation, good songs. Yeah, I think good's a pretty good spot. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I think this is a great movie, great ending to this franchise. Does kind of what I wanted to. Has this huge, epic battle. For me, the ending battle I think was enough for this, and I think it's great. Iron Man 3, it kind of changed a lot of just Marvel movies. They were kind of following this formula, and this one does kind of try to do some different things. Does some things different with the Mandarin. Does just a couple different things with some characters, and I think this is a good movie. Joker, a fantastic movie. Great performance by Joaquin Phoenix. Great character study, just about isolation. Just so many things. I think this is a great movie. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Such an easy choice. God tier. A phenomenal movie. Fantastic way to end out this trilogy. A spectacle. So many things could be said about it. And so many things have. Titanic. Another God tier. Yeah, God tier. Classic love story. One of James Cameron's best. I think God tier is a great place for it. Toy Story 3. You know what? Another God tier. This ends out the trilogy in a perfect way. I'll talk about Toy Story 4 next, but I think this ends out the Toy Story movies in such a great place. Puts them on, puts every character in a place that I want, and really just solidifies this as one of the best trilogies of all time. Toy Story 4. I think this is a good movie. I don't think it was necessary, and it was definitely a cash grab. That worked. It's on the $1 billion list. But I think it's a good movie, does some stuff with the characters, expands on Woody a little bit more. I think good is a good place for it. Zootopia. I think this is just an average movie. I think it actually does a lot of things well. A lot of the themes it's trying to tackle, it does it in like a really good way, like a way kids can understand. Yeah, I'm going to put it in good tier. Just for that, I think it does that. It also makes a really interesting world, so I think good tier's good for it. Spider-Man, this is No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm throwing it in great. The theater experience that I had, as so many people did, it deserves great tier just because of that. Rewatching this is once you get like past the first act, like once the multiverse stuff starts happening, this movie just it's so fun to rewatch. So many little fun things between the three characters, and I think this movie's great just because of that. Top Gun Maverick. I think Top Gun Maverick is going in great tier. Yeah, it's going in great tier. It's such a fun, entertaining movie. When I think of like 2022 summer movie, I think of that. It's fun, it's entertaining. You can throw it on and you'll have a good time. The Lion King. Lion King is going in God tier. Classic story. Hans Zimmer score, beautiful animation. God tier is perfect for it. Jurassic World Dominion, worst. I hate this movie with a passion. I think it's terrible. I gave this like a 2.5 on Letterboxd, and if I went on Letterboxd right now, I'd give it like half a star. This movie, it's lifeless. It uses the original characters just to get people in seats, and it worked. And for that, I think it's just worst. Avatar: The Way of Water. I think Avatar: The Way of Water, I'm gonna throw it in great tier. I think it is a very long movie, doesn't have that much rewatchability, but when you see it in theaters, it's a spectacle. It looks beautiful on screen. When you're seeing it on a giant IMAX screen, you're kind of just like captured into this world that James Cameron made, into this like family story. It's a small story at heart about a family and this very beautiful world. I think it's a great movie. I do think it has a lot of problems. It's long, but I think it's like a lower end of great tier. And the last movie, Super Mario Bros. Movie, average, which is perfect for it. It's beautifully animated, great. I like the voice acting, but I think it's a very just basic story. It kind of feels just like very average animated kids movie, if that makes sense. Like by the end of the year, this will be probably a middle movie. This movie has a lot of nostalgia, but it's just a very average movie. I ranked all of them, so in the worst movies, I have Jurassic World Dominion and Transformers Night of the Fallen, whatever it's called. Those two movies are just bad. They're the worst on this list. Then in the bad, I have The Phantom Menace, Jurassic World 2, Transformers, whatever. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Alice in Wonderland, Fast 7, Fast 8, and Star Wars 9. These movies are bad. I'm not probably going to check these out again. They're just cash grabs. They worked, but they're cash grabs. Then on the average, I have Despicable Me, Spider-Man Far From Home, Lion King, Avengers Age of Ultron, Minions, Jurassic World, Captain Marvel, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Aquaman, Mario, Frozen 2, and The Hobbit. These are pretty average movies. They made $1 billion, but I think in terms of writing, story, camera, all the technical elements, subjectively and objectively, for me, they're pretty average. Then in the good tier, I have Frozen, Zootopia, Rogue One, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Iron Man 3, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, Toy Story 4 is better. The Dark Knight Rises, Barbie, Civil War, and Avengers. These are good movies, ones that I'm going to rewatch, ones that I will rewatch again. They're fun, they got good stuff technically. They're fun, good movies, and I think honestly, a lot of these did deserve $1 billion. Avengers deserved it. Barbie deserved it. They're worthy of it. Then for the great tier, last place I got Black Panther, Harry Potter 1, Avengers Endgame. I moved that from good to great just because of the theater experience. Avatar 2, Skyfall, Spider-Man 3, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Spider-Man 3, Avatar, Top Gun, Maverick, Joker, and Avengers Infinity War. These are great movies. I've seen them multiple times. They were going to make $1 billion. Most of these were going to, regardless. They're phenomenal. A lot of these are really fantastic, great movies. Then the God tier, I have Titanic, The Lion King, Toy Story 3, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Jurassic Park, and The Dark Knight. These are God tier movies. A lot of these movies are on like 100 movies to watch before you die list. These are fantastic movies that I would recommend to anyone. If you enjoyed watching this ranking tier list video, please consider subscribing for more film, for movie content. Just meet more people who like this kind of stuff because I like talking about this stuff. I like making videos about it, so subscribe.